Terry Lamb leads out the Bulldogs at home on this and Friday night. It can be a long walk down that tunnel, long and lonely as you try and get your mind on the job. A job hell-bent for victory and 2 Winfield Cup points. They're coming off a 36-8 win over Newcastle and a 20-all draw with Cronulla Canterbury, in good form going into this match at home. Darren Smith last man out as the flags fly here for the blue and white of the Bulldogs. And Terry Lamb showing a new sponsorship announcement for the Canterbury club today. Mobile will be worn on the sleeve by the Bulldogs in signing a new 3-year deal. Jason Alshan leading out St George. Alshan made his name here at Belmore in the blue and white jumper. He comes back tonight, still battling with a knee injury, trying to get St George back on the rails against his old club. They've got plenty of support here too. Next door neighbours to Canterbury. Alshan will be the man who will be trying to organise the play and find some holes up the middle against this Canterbury defence.
And Jason Alshan has to run tonight. There's a big question mark about his fitness. He refused to have a knee operation, and tonight he has to run. He can't be a traffic cop as he was in his last appearance against North Sydney.
Ricky Walford going back to the bench, out injured tonight. Been battling with a leg injury. Referee 100% fit is Mr. Jeff Weeks. A cool night, as we said, here at Belmore. And St George have won 6 of the last 8 encounters between these two sides. The Saints, in fact, have won the past 2 here at Belmore. Ewan McGrady in at halfback tonight for Kevin Moore, who's out with a hamstring injury. Brucey Maguire in the second row. A good teaming there with Darren Smith for Canterbury. That'll be a good clash between the two of them and Goulet and Tony Priddle for St George. Mark Ellison will get things underway for the Saints. Both sides on 7 points in the Winfield Cup. Just 2 out of the 5. Lamb getting it back to Maven. Man who came from South Sydney and who has shed a lot of weight in recent weeks to make his name in the top lineup for Canterbury. Crecker brought down just short of the 22. 126 points for Canterbury, 145 against. A much better defensive line for St George. Can their defence get them home, Bill?
Well, that's what they'll be looking to, won't they? It's, you know, it's an area where they've been competitive every week. In the games they've lost, they've gone very close, but they've got to go one better tonight. Trying to put some pressure on Lamb. He ran Williams around. He got lost with that ball in the air. Now it bounces down to be picked up by Turp. Turp returns the kick straight away. Marty Crecker takes it on his fingertips and running well too.
Both Williams and also Turp, both newcomers to first grade. They can expect a lot of kicking from this experienced Canterbury 5'8" Terry Lamb tonight.
Lamb has been battling with a stomach injury all through the season and can't even train with his side come Tuesday night at their main training session. He's got to wait till around Thursday.
Yeah, he has, but he's a magnificent competitor, and I watched him last week against Cronulla. He's still a superb player.
Early penalty inside the 5 against Priddle, and Darren Smith and Priddle came together. Bit of a shoulder charge was how it started. It threatened to become more, but it stopped as quickly as it started. Lamb as captain in there listening in, so is Alshan. The penalty already had gone to Canterbury.
Yeah, here's the player running through, deliberately running through as the decoy, ran straight into the St George player who didn't move. The referee, Weeks, moved in very quickly to stop what could have been a situation that could have overflowed. Good chance for Canterbury early in the game.
Yeah, and Rex Turp was picked at fullback for St George, but he's not playing there. They've got Cameron Wade back there. Turp's up in the centres.
Another change for Wade, who's played nearly every position in the back line this season for the Saints. Gillies, Lamb, as they go wide, but Grady got a ball away, but there was a mile of defence waiting. And they cough it up now for St George. Some tremendous matches here earlier this evening in the lower grades. In the President's Cup, the Saints getting home 20-12 and then getting up right at the death in reserve grade 24-22 again. Tierney. Tierney to play at 41 out for St George. Up the middle, Wayne Collins. He'll be trying to search for some space all night there. He's the danger man amongst the forwards. The kick coming in from Ellison. And a good angle too out towards the sideline. Sending it down inside the Canterbury 22. Well, Zord, what can you tell us about the 3rd of May, 1947? A big occasion for St George. 61 defeated Manly 11. Quite a night out for the Saints.
I don't believe it.
Well, we thought you'd be able to tell us all about it. We thought you were playing.
There was a day when a major illness struck the Manly camp and 35 players were down and out with asthma.
And only 3 points for a try then.
Out it comes for Cracker to join in. What your career started the following year.
You certainly did.
Canterbury switching it down the blind side. McGrady and Lamb with a run around and a little bit of an overlap for Gillies. But some bad handling from Canterbury in the opening minutes. Bad play down the wrong end of the field for them too.
But you can see from here they are prepared to try things, Canterbury. They were pushing the ball around in their own quarter. They were in the hole but came up with a fumble.
Bulldogs have won 2 out of 3 here at Belmore this season. Now they're going to be caught for offside. Gillies breaking from the scrum too quickly before that ball came out. He came up with the fumble. Now he's been penalised.
No doubt about him being offside there, Simon Gillies. It's a good opportunity for St George. A pretty bungling start by Canterbury Bankstown. Rex Turp in the centres. A try-scoring machine in the lower grades, and his opposition tonight in Jared McCracken was his teammate for Northern Division against France last year.
0-0 on this on Friday night. The Saints and the Bulldogs. Alshan for Ellison. Busting out of one tackle, turning, looking for some support. Right in midfield, the Saints. Setting up either side of the ruck. Collins goes right. 13 metres out. Alshan rushes into dummy half. Looking for some forwards. Tierney turning for Goulet. The tall man who can be such a big problem in keeping that ball alive. Potter, another up against his old club. Out on the wing, St George trying to create a chance. Townsend puts it down, only a couple of metres away. Putting pressure on themselves, Canterbury, and it nearly paid off for St George.
Yeah, they're prepared to try things, Canterbury, and coming up with a couple of mistakes. And St George looking to capitalise by pushing the ball out wide. And I'm totally convinced, Graham, St George are a better team when they move the ball.
Canterbury coming away with it. Dean Pay. Maguire. The test man with all the experience. Got some young men around him in the Canterbury forwards. McGrady with the kick, but it's straight up the middle. And no difficulty at all. Well, it is now. He gets a bad bounce for Cameron Wade. Racing to the open side to try and link up out wide. Comes to a full stop against Patmore.
And Patmore, one of the tallest centres in Sydney football. He and McCracken, a very good centre combination for the Canterbury Bankstown side. Very tall player.
Goulet. Goulet breaking the defence and some brittle defence. It's been St George on the attack. Collins cutting men out. Potter. Potter wrapped up by Lamb. He won't leave him alone all night. Fullerton Smith. Some names amongst both these sides that could have been used by Queensland selectors in State of Origin. Again the kick. Finding it nicely inside the Canterbury Bankstown 22 from Ellison. Tidy passage of play in the St George set of sixes.
Good steady play by St George. They're much the more composed side early in this game of football at the Belmore Sports Ground.
You can see there a much bigger pack, St George. They'd outweigh Canterbury probably by half a stone a man, and they may just well be able to force one against the head here tonight.
Greger was heading upfield, but the whistle had well and truly blown before he decided to find a gap in that defence. This one goes against St George for the same reason that Gillies was caught. McGrady to take all the pressure off. 33 metres out from their own line. Folks with a restart. Another penalty against St George. They were too keen to get started in defence against Maven. So McGrady will say thank you to at least another 20 or 30 metres.
Well, that's cheap yards. That's money in the bank for Canterbury. 2 penalties and they're going to go 50 metres up the field without having to raise a gallop.
From being on the defence, Canterbury now go into all-out attack. Maven in a repeat of what he was trying to do from the last tap. Folks calling for him to get to his feet quickly. Again, it's Maguire. Lamb staying on the left side. Bringing in Darren Smith. A good ball getting back for Pay. Play trying to straighten up. Just outside the St George 22. McGrady. McGrady showing it. A couple of his passes have been dangerous ones.
They've been dangerous. They've been hospital. Go straight to hospital. I mean, really passing in impossible situations.
The time he'll be dangerous is when he elects to run.
The bomb coming from Lamb for Wade. A test here. Climbing was Patmore. But Wade still came up with it after all of that.
Yeah, he looked all at sea to me. I think I'd be pushing Mick Potter back there.
Now, he was waiting under it. Patmore got there first, climbed way above. And luckily, coming off McCracken into the arms of Wade.
There was a miracle he ended up with. It was virtually handed to him by a Canterbury player. I agree with Bill. He had no idea.
Alshan. There's Fullerton Smith. Quick hands from Alshan. From Fullerton Smith. Putting it out the coin. Now a chance for Canterbury. Nissan. First real charge for them inside the St George 22. Line deep. McGrady. It's it out for Darren Smith, standing out amongst the centres. St George defence moves up pretty swiftly, and they get pushed back to the 32. Canterbury forwards just working it away. Brokenshire will set it up for another chance to go back towards their backs. Maguire. One of the players been around midfield, creating the options either side of the ruck. McGrady. This time a ball that puts a man into space. Patmore. Patmore getting it back on the inside for Gillies. Gillies down near the sideline and it gets pushed over. Scrum to go down about 10 metres out. And here at the Belmore Sports Ground, 0-0, Nissan, Friday night. 10 metres out from the St George line, the scrum to go down 0-0. The Saints and the Bulldogs. Jeff Weeks wants this scrum to go back in field.
Interesting to see in just general play that Ewan McGrady's going to 5'8" and Terry Lamb to halfback.
Yeah, and you'll find that Lamb won't do as much running as he'd like to. You'll find he'll first pass and get the ball to McGrady, and he'll be the man looking to make little breaks on the edge of the ruck.
Shouting to his forwards, Lamb, to get out and help him in the defensive line. Fullerton Smith. Shoulder charge. Another fumble from St George. So both sides making a lot of mistakes inside their own 22s. McGrady to his feet. Will have a chance at some points now for Canterbury. He's not happy with the St George 5 metres, Jeff Weeks. He wanders across right in front of the posts. Wandering up to take it is Marty Crecker. Interesting that it won't be Terry Lamb to shoot for goal.
Well, that just highlights that Terry Lamb is a player that is very much not a week-to-week proposition, but a half-to-half proposition. He was almost coming off at half-time last week. Now, his stomach muscles have torn away from his rib cage. Now, that's a terrible injury, which necessitates probably an operation, which he's not prepared to have, simply because he's one of the greatest clubmen ever to wear the blue and white.
Marty Crecker called in at fullback with the withdrawal of Kevin Moore at halfback. And then Ewan McGrady moving to the number 7 role. Crecker to get Canterbury on the board. No doubt about it. The Bulldogs grab first blood. 2-0 over St George. First chance for anybody to fly those flags high. A lot of mistakes from both sides.
Yeah, there have been. The defence has been pretty intense, but referee Weeks is keeping them back a good 5. The mistakes basically have been the result of ball movement and passing to players in poor positions to receive.
I know he'd be watching tonight. Royce Simmons apparently celebrating a birthday yesterday. Surely he's broken out of the 20s by now. Gillies wrapped up inside his 22. Johnny Croucher, what about the footy tab tonight?
Graham, there's $50,000 in tonight's Pick the Score dividend pool. Canterbury only very slight favourites on their home ground. 53% going for them to win, 42% for St George and only 5% on the draw. Plenty of support for the Bulldogs to kick a field goal tonight, Graham. The computer tips a Canterbury victory, 16 to 20 points for them, 10 to 14 for St George.
Thanks, John. If they're talking about field goals, they'll be sweating on Lamb. Lamb has an incredible 994 points in his career at Canterbury. McGrady gets away! Like lightning, McGrady down the middle. Looking for support. Lamb's there. A great chance for Canterbury. Nissan to the overlap for Patmore. Straightens. Nelly from the other end. Last tackle. Canterbury have St George on the rack. Kicking through in the play of the ball. Somebody's headed to the bin. Cameron Wade gets 5 minutes.
10 minutes it is.
I think he gave him only 5. I think he only put up the 5.
No, it'll be the full 10. You can't put him in the bin for 5 any longer.
Well, he tried to signal 5. So Wade's out of there. He wouldn't let Patmore play it properly. Well, it looked as if the ball did get down to the ground. So Wade won't be back as Canterbury received 4 straight penalties.
It's interesting to note that the new international law just brought in, and it'll be ratified at the next meeting of the ARL, that the sin bin can be only used for 10 minutes, not a 5-minute period. But of course, that's not in vogue at the moment. Also, the stealing of the ball whilst the player's held is also going to be illegal too, which is going to make it pretty hard for players like the little expert Alan Langer.
Well, they were talking test matches only, weren't they, at that stage, for stealing the ball?
It's going to come into the Winfield Cup and be ratified as well.
Cracker. That tough angle, as always, from right out near the sideline. He hit it pretty well, just dies on him. Score remains Canterbury 2, St George 0.
Yeah, what about that break by Ewan McGrady? There's no doubt that he is the man that can bust St George up. I don't think anyone knows how fast he is. He runs as fast as he has to.
Well, Terry Lamb rates him the most exciting player at Canterbury since Steve Mortimer. That's quite a rap from Bar Terry Lamb. But what about Lamb? He backed up twice in that movement.
It should have been a try on the end of it, probably. You never know. Didn't get down to that last tackle. McCracken. Young man who could find himself in the New Zealand side come test time against Australia. Broken child. Lamb trying to switch direction. Linking up with Simon Gillies. A couple of holes starting to appear. St George down to 12 men. Folks. Maguire showing it. Trying to keep it alive. Last tackle. McGrady a dummy half. McGrady. The kick to the in goal. Over the head of Potter. Awkward bounce for Potter. Potter in the in goal. He does well to tidy this up. Cool as you please. Potter's going to go back past the 22. And back to McGrady, the man who put in the kick. Tremendous play from Michael Potter. He made his name here in Belmore in the fullback role for Canterbury. That's the irony of it. Now, penalty against Canterbury. St George can use all of this with Wade in the sin bin. Ellison taking his time to settle his team down. Canterbury were starting to build to something.
Yeah, they certainly were, but good play by Michael Potter, as you say. He knows every blade of grass here at Belmore. For St George tonight, I think this is a make or break game. If Alchin can stand up and can be competitive tonight and carry that injury that he's got, they can go places. If they don't, tonight could be the start of a long black period for St George.
It was Tierney with that strong run. Now Priddle taking over. 5-2 the penalties to Canterbury. Collins looking for something on the blind side. Means Alchin has to shorten up the back line, come into the dummy half roll. Tierney with another run. Handling errors going against St George just. Alchin wants to switch it. Alchin to Coyne. Coyne? Well, there was some pedestrian defence there. They just opened up and said, come through. Last tackle. Alchin, a little kick. And a knock on from Canterbury. So they'll have more possession. Good decision from Weeks. I think it was Nissen that did get a hand to it here.
Well, here's Jason Alchin with a grubber kick through. The ball, I didn't think was knocked forward, and on the replay, the Nissen replay, showed that perhaps that's an error by referee Weeks.
Ellison across the paddock. He tries to get a miracle ball away. And they let Canterbury off the hook.
Jason Alston showed there that he's not 100% fit, but he is at least running enough to put the defence in two minds. And that's all he's got to do. He's just got to prove a menace in the back of their mind. He doesn't have to run to get tackled, just run to make them think that he might try to break the line.
Folks, using all his experience as his side, handles a bit of heat here. Just settles one up the middle.
Bill, I disagree. I think they need a general, not a traffic cop.
Well, there's another mistake.
I think he can be a general, but I also think he's got to put a little bit of doubt in their mind. He doesn't have to run 100 metres, but he's got to make them think he might be able to.
Well, McGrady being hard done by as St George got away with a steal. Geez, we've filled up some time this year talking about that. Alston now for Ellison. Ellison wrapped up, ball and all by Lamb. Friddle. He and Goulet are the ones who need the big games in the back row tonight.
Gotcha.
Canterbury received one from right in front. St George really will get a birthday present here. Only 5 or 6 metres out and right in front of the black spot. You can just about throw them over for here. And Ellison will only take this back to about 9 or 10 metres.
They're having a committee meeting, St George, to decide what they're going to do with it.
Waiting for a little bit of sand, which was late.
They're going to take as long as they can to get 13 players back on the field. It's what they're going to do.
So handling is a problem for both sides at the start of this match.
Well, there's a fair bit of dew on the grass down here, Graham, too, which wouldn't be helping the handling at this stage of the match, and that will get heavier as the match goes on.
Trying to get away too many miracle balls, it appears, though, Wayne, at the wrong end of the field.
That's for sure, and I think Canterbury in particular have been the guiltiest party on that behalf.
Ellison trying to make them pay with 2 points. I'll have to put a search on for that ball as it ends up out on the railway tracks at the back of Belmore Sports Ground. St George leveling it all up here at the Belmore Sports Ground. 2-all. Canterbury and St George, Nissan Friday night. The Bulldogs back to halfway. St George down to 12 men. Cameron Wade in the bin. Potter, who's dropped back at fullback to cover for him. Friddle. Lamb goes high and wrestles him to the ground. Sloppy play amongst the rucks right throughout this match too, as well, in the play the ball situation. Tierney. Plenty of one-out running amongst the forwards as well. Fullerton Smith. Tremendous hit was put on him by Dean Pay. Make no mistake about that. The tackle earned the error here.
Never really in control. I think he knew what was about to come. Pay just launched himself at him.
Right under the ribs.
St George's best forward so far tonight in attack is Scott Goulet by a long way. There's some more sloppy play from Canterbury Bankstown. That halfback position is really causing them a worry tonight with Moore out.
McCracken. It's an interesting point about McGrady, who can be so damaging out of the halfback role as a runner, that Kevin Moore is the organiser. And it's starting to show here as the communications break down amongst the rucks.
Over the last couple of weeks, Kevin Moore was the man that Chris Anderson playing at dummy half. And he tended to restructure his back line, and even though they were a man short in the back line, it didn't really matter. They got such good service from Kevin. But now I think you can see the lack of combination there. Folks has had to move into the dummy half role. Lamb playing at half-back and McGrady at 5'8". They're going to take a little bit of time to fit all this together.
A slow start from both sides. Williams in for Ricky Walford. Lamb, allaying that injury, making a number of tackles so far. Goulet, who's backed by some strong defence. Friddle. Canterbury got a hand to it. There'll be 6 more for the Saints.
And Paul Osborne's on for Wally Fullerton Smith, who's made a couple of handling errors early in the game.
Osborne with his first touch.
That'd be a sacking for Wally Fullerton Smith. I'm fairly convinced he's not injured, and he's paid the penalty, as Wayne Pearce said, for some poor handling. Osborne is a good ball player. 3 times he spilt the ball, Wally Fullerton-Smith. Osborne is very clever with a football.
Alshin. Loading for Potter. Ellison operating on the short blind, as he has been doing right throughout this first half. And the kick for the sideline. Cameron Wade checking with the timekeepers, trying to get back on the field. They give him the okay. They get back to 13.
St George kicking for the sideline a lot in this match, more than they normally do. I'm sure that they're trying to win a couple against the head.
Lamb from half-back to McGrady. McGrady to McCracken. Very solidly built. Young centre three-quarter. No marker on him, and he gets it up over halfway. Now Alshin in trouble for St George. I wonder if Alshin has finally found out about whether that knee is 100%. Go. Canterbury heading upfield into St George territory.
He's coming off. I'd say he's answered in the negative.
David New has rushed out there. McGrady. You can't hang off him. McGrady's got so many men inside. McGrady just picks and chooses. McGrady has made 2 clean breaks. One of them end up in a try. Patmore gets on the end, and the Bulldogs grab the first 4-pointer of the night.
On the Nissan replay, it's the player that was always going to make the break. As Graham Hughes said, he threw dummies, they laid off him, and when he claps on the accelerator, he's like a Nissan ZX 300, and away he goes on the Nissan replay, picks up inside big Patmore, and Patmore goes in for the try, and Canterbury banks down the try they so desperately needed.
Nice switch of play, but here he was taking on a front rower, Tierney, who was filling in. He got around him without much trouble, then positioned his supports on the inside perfectly.
Andrew Patmore, 22 years of age, and he just waited on the inside for McGrady to provide the try for him. Marty Kreger will have the kick from about 10 metres in from touch. 50% record. Chris Anderson with a big mate looking right over his shoulder. Ian Schubert alongside 2 great stars for the Australian Test team, weren't they?
He's looking well, Peter Moore, isn't he?
You are on side with him, are you?
Looks a bit like John
Gives
Quayle.
it and can take it.
Kreger. The Newcastle Knights. Ready start tonight. And now the goal-kicking duties. Will it break back for him perfectly? He makes the try complete, and Canterbury go to an 8-2 lead. So St George going to sleep against McGrady and paying the ultimate price.
Jason Alshin's injury is something I don't think St George can overcome. I think that young man going off and obviously facing the knife in an operation, I think that's the body blow that will probably keep St George from having any chance of making the 5 this year.
Well, Peter, I just spoke to him, and Jason said that his knee actually popped out, which the signs are that it's definitely not going to recover, and he feels he will have to have an operation.
Penalty comes for Canterbury. Well, that was always going to be the point, Pete, wasn't it? I know people have been criticising him when he played against North Sydney recently for not running, but he had to prove it to himself, not just a catch and pass.
Your mind can want to do it, Graham, but if your body can't, then it's impossible. And he's put off that operation. What, in effect, he's done is put himself back probably right out of this season now, where he could be looking at a comeback in a couple of weeks when they could have done with him. But right now, he's going to be out of business till well after this season probably is over.
Well, I've got to disagree with you there, Peter. I was talking to him off the field, and either way, if he had the operation done a few weeks ago or if he has it done now, either way, he's going to be out for the full season. So he feels he had nothing to lose.
All right. So he tried to get back. It's the worst thing that can happen to a footballer. The Cruciates, we wish him well. McCracken. Going to be trying to search for some gaps out wide.
Ewan McGrady's turned into a lot more complete footballer than when he arrived at Belmore last year. Last year he was a footballer who either ran with the ball or he didn't do anything. But now he's introduced a nice passing game as well, and you're not quite sure what he's going to do.
Look out, here comes Darren Smith. He was onside. Smith was careering down on that, and the ball was breaking towards him. St George did well to put a stop to a chance of a Canterbury try. Williams. This is the tough call now for the Saints. They can't allow Canterbury to put 2 scores together. Back to back before the break. Potter trying to get through a short gap. And trying to get to his feet quickly, just planting the ball. Now, mistakes from St George. Scrum to go down with a Canterbury feed. Just what they didn't need right now.
Yeah, here's Tony Priddle running through and not knowing whether he's going to get the ball or not. That's a communication breakdown, and that's unforgivable for first-grade football.
Lamb continues to feed the scrum. Weeks wants it again. McGrady brings in Cracker from fullback. The extra man doesn't create any advantage. The scrums are all even. Gillies, already a City First representative this year. Bad play the ball. Canterbury are going to be penalised. Just waiting for the decision. Just simply rolling it between his legs against Gillies. Awful play of the ball.
But his foot did touch the ball, Graham, you know, and that's all it's got to do. OK, it was an untidy play the ball, but there's no doubt on the replay that his foot did touch the ball.
And there was no penalty. No penalty warranted.
No, definitely not.
Osborne trying to rev up the St George side after that Canterbury try. Potter, the first receiver. Half volleys it well. Potter to try and become the distributor now in this in the St George side and try and get them organised.
Yeah, but it puts a huge hold in you. You train with someone like Jason Alchin at first pass all week, and then in the first half of the game you lose him and you've got to slot someone else in. It's the calls and so on just tend to fall away.
Well, that flat lemonade St George, they really haven't got much bubble in attack, have they? Other than the big fellow, Scott Goulet, has got a good step, and if someone can come off his shoulder, they look dangerous. But other than that, at the moment, they are very flat.
Catching and passing is not of a first-grade standard here.
Well, here's a second mistake by Priddle in what, 45 seconds?
Plenty of ball coming Canterbury's way. There'll be no complaints from them. They go blindside now to Cracker. And guilty of plenty of mistakes themselves, though, Canterbury, and slow starters last week against Cronulla.
Yeah, they were. This is nothing like the performance they put in against Cronulla. They were very flashy last week, and they weren't making the mistakes that they're making here tonight.
Boats just up the middle for only a couple of metres. Lamb, McGrady with a ball that Nissen puts down, and St George go on the attack. Now the Saints lose it. Canterbury get it back. It's yours, mine, and everybody's. Who wants it?
Nobody. It's like a hand grenade. Nobody wants it at the moment. The side that settles down, this game's there for the taking.
Patmore.
I had almost forgotten why I no longer coach, but now I remember.
Brian Smith and Chris Anderson will really be doing it tough as it goes down again. And then knock-ons both ways. We'll wait for the scrum. It's 8-2, Canterbury over St George. Nissen Friday Night Football from the Belmore Sports Ground. Canterbury ahead by 6. But both sides are playing with a cake of soap. Potter hangs onto it. And now we get a couple of completed passes. Osborne showing the ball one way. And back inside to Collins. It's quite an effort from both sides to try and get to a completed set of 6. Potter. Tierney being the strongest runner amongst the St George forwards. They switch it to Ellison. Ellison with a cutout and a bad ball to Coyne down around his feet. And you guess it, we've got another knock on. Bad pass.
It was a bad pass, and Mark Coyne is probably one of the most consistent players in the St George side, but You can't expect the footballer to be running at full speed, bursting onto the ball, having to lean down and pick it up off his ankles like that. That's a shocking pass.
Nissan off his wing. Talking of wingers, St George made a late change today to this lineup in Nissan Friday Night Football. They lost the services of Ricky Walford. He's sidelined with Wayne Pearce.
Yeah, Ricky a little disappointed to have pulled out with that quadricep injury, but once again, a vital stage of the year, and it's cost you a State of Origin jumper.
Oh, mate, you know, it's a nagging injury. I've been carrying it for a couple of weeks now, Wayne, but, you know, I needed the rest tonight, and hopefully with the split round coming up, I'll be able to get it right for the game against Souths the week after next.
Saints have had a great start to the season, fallen in a hole the last 3 matches and hovering in that danger zone. Really need a win tonight.
We definitely need a win tonight. As you can see, we haven't started off real well. And
well, here goes Maven down the sideline. Goulet gets there. Now McGrady to clap it on. Good backing up from Canterbury. They go down to the 22. He's trying to get to his feet as Canterbury go on the attack, and St George struggle to get back there. Smith. They hold enough in their line for one tackle. Folks, still out wide they go. Maven to McCracken. Patmore. Patmore gets it back. Maguire. Bad pass away from him. Ball went back, said the referee. Canterbury stay with it. Gillies. Gillies wrapped up by New. Last tackle. McGrady. McGrady cross-kicking. Wade near the post. Makes an awful mess of it. That was a difficult one, though. He cross-kicked. Wade had gone across one way, had to head back near the post.
Yeah, this was a horror kick for anyone to take. He was worried about the post. The ball almost hit the post on the way down. And for a player that isn't a regular fullback, that was a horror kick to have to take. And I don't blame Cameron Wade, the young fellow, for not taking it. But that's not going to do his confidence any good either.
Potter with this restart. We'll quickly try and get you back to Wayne Pearce right now with Ricky Walford on the sideline.
Yeah, Ricky, just one final question. Martin Afire coming out in a couple of weeks. Brad Mackay coming back. Obviously looking forward to getting back to some semblance of full strength.
Well, it will be the case, mate. In a couple of weeks, we've got a few players coming back. Brad, as you said, and Martin Afire should make a difference to this side. So, you know, we need to win the next couple of games before those guys get back, and hopefully we can get back on the track and win a few more games and hopefully be a force later on in the year to come.
Thanks for talking to us, and hopefully you can get back on the paddock next match.
Thanks very much, Wayne.
Plenty of injury problems, isn't there, for St George? Great news for them about Martin Afire, though. Patmore. Patmore trying to get it back from McGrady. It was touched by the Saints. Canterbury have got 6 more to go on attack. Lamb quickly into dummy half to try and get this side started for a second try. Brokenshire. Brokenshire strongly to the 22. 8-2 the Bulldogs. Lamb. Maguire. Maguire a short ball to McCracken. Bumping players out of his way. The defence has been good under pressure at the moment. McGrady, again the kick. But it sits up easily. Very easily for the Saints to come away with Townsend. Wade. Vital time for St George, and they've done well to hang on. Plenty of character in that defence.
The amazing thing is they've played so badly and they're still in the game.
The positive thing is that the way that they've cover defended whenever Canterbury have made those clean breaks.
Yes, they have got across as when the occasion needed to cover up. Last tackle against St George. Little kick, charge down. Bouncing away from Collins from McCracken. The ball bouncing nicely for Canterbury in this first 40. They've only turned it into one try, though. Maguire. Straight up the middle for Pay. Now Canterbury have a backline set. Folks. Folks goes out near the sideline. They try and drag him over. They do drag him over. Should that have been a penalty?
Well, Steve Folks is dumbfounded there. The experienced Bulldog looking at the touch judge. Here's the tackle. Was his progress stopped? He's desperately trying to get down and then hauled over the sideline. The touch judge certainly had a good look at it. That's the referee's decision if he called. But I would imagine that the player's progress was definitely stopped.
I can't believe a touch judge wouldn't go in on something like that and just give the referee the nod that the player had been tackled. Poor communication from the man with the flag.
He deserved to be punished for a run as silly as that was.
Yeah, but it's not the jurisdiction of a touch judge there. It's up to the referee to make the decision, and he just failed to make it.
Goulet goes down the sideline. Now the ball is lost, and the Saints will get a penalty, will they? They will. So from one that maybe should have come the other end, the Saints will get a chance here down in Canterbury territory.
Bruce Maguire, the man making the tackle, and the left arm definitely shoving the ball out. Referee picked that one up. St George with a chance to get back in this game just prior to half-time.
Well, Fullett and Smith had overrun Collins, and Collins just had to pick it back up and take off into the defence. Both sides really struggling to put their game together. 32 out from the Canterbury line. Osborne running around with Collins. Goulet was claiming that he was impeded as he tried to support Collins. Potter. Ellison back to Potter. Canterbury swarmed up out wide, forced them back up the middle.
Osborne's the danger player this close to the line.
Osborne getting one out for away. It's Coyne, in fact, that joined in. Goulet quickly from dummy half. Osborne the ball away. And it did nearly result in a try. So a couple of touches from Osborne nearly got them a chance.
There is certainly a big, strong fellow close to the line, and he does possess a lot of skill. That's a beautiful pass to Williams. It was that good, Williams didn't know it was coming. He thought it was a pizza.
A pizza.
Takeaway pizza, he thought it was.
It was too hot to handle then, the pizza. And we're going to come back to where Goulet was screaming at the touch judge and the referee. A long time ago when Collins made a break. Patmore was touching his elbow. Use of a forearm might have been the call from the touch judge against Patmore. St George here will just try and grab the 2 points. Now, was this the incident when Collins made the break? Goulet coming through. Patmore was on him. Patmore just grabbing him with the jersey.
Yeah, no hint of an elbow there, but he did hang on to him, and, well, Goulet's learned very quickly that if you have a bit of a whinge to the referee at a vital stage in the game, he's picked up the penalty.
Ellison, 1 from 1, that was right in front. Reminder about Sunday. Norths and Newcastle, the MMI big game, with a new time of 6:30 on Sunday. For all those fans of The Simpsons, including my daughter, she wants to know all the news about The Simpsons. They have moved to 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday nights. Ellison from out wide, trying to get 2 right on half-time. Great goal from Ellison. Tremendous kick from Ellison, and St George well and truly amongst it. Canterbury the only try scorers. Both sides go to the break here on Nissan Friday Night Football. Not playing their best, but Canterbury just in front. 8 points to 4. Yeah, thanks, Wayne. Well, it hasn't been all that good from either Canterbury or St George so far in this Nissan Friday Nighter. But the Dogs come back here at Belmore. They've got the only try so far. But there's been a lot of handling mistakes from both sides. Poor handling, in fact. I don't know if, as we see St George come back, Bill, if we're going to start talking about that old hobby horse, these footballs that they use.
Well, I'm certainly not going to. I think I've said everything that I can, and the league is having another look at that. But we can't just blame the footballs. We're talking about first-grade footballers here, and some of the handling has been atrocious, and there's no one to blame but themselves.
Terry Lamb's not having any trouble with it. He backs up almost every time Canterbury make a break, and he just does look as a class above most of the players out there still. What a marvellous player he's been for the Bulldogs, and he's certainly supporting McGrady, and McGrady's the player that can really win this game for Canterbury. They're more capable of scoring long-distance tries than St George.
Yeah, it's been Lamb and McGrady to spark them up. In defence for Canterbury, Maguire has been doing all the sparking with 16. St George 84 tackles. Collins leading the way with 15. Marty Cracker to get things started for Canterbury, who enjoy the lead, but by only 4 points. St George without Jason Alshan, who was finally given in to that knee injury, and he looks like he's gone for the rest of the season. St George start the second 40 minutes with a major mistake from Coyne.
There is no excuse for that. Look, that is the most simple thing. He put the ball on the ground, tapped it with his foot, but wasn't looking at it.
He might have still had Brian Smith ringing in his ears.
It's incredible to think that young Mark Coyne, who was one of St George's best players, one of their most consistent players this year, and in line in a lot of people's eyes for State of Origin, would make a mistake like that, but they could pay dearly for it.
Canterbury with the chance to start on the right note in the second. Now, McGrady, a dummy half, needs to be watched. He hears the call from Lamb to switch it on the first tackle. Bad pass from him. So it's still continuing all the handling problems. Canterbury have got back to recover with it. Brokenshire. But it's been the only safe path for both sides. No, it's not. Brokenshire loses it and St George have got it.
There has been no teamwork in this game from either side whatsoever. It has all been individual brilliance, and so far on that score, Lamb and McGrady are ahead on points.
Brokenshire was up slowly, even slower. Steve Folkes, who dived at the ball once it was lost. Osborne.
And Steve Folkes, no tougher competitor. He'll have to be really hurt to go off.
Ellison, very quickly for Priddle. Priddle and Fullerton Smith were the major offenders for St George in the first half.
And there's an amazing thing. Priddle's caught it and held on to it.
Last tackle against the Saints. Ball sitting up over the sideline. And they'll settle for the scrum as Steve Folkes rushes back to join the pack. Really favouring that right arm.
He's okay. He's got another one.
No fear from him. Although it is a loose arm.
He's only using one at the moment too.
It's not exactly over the shoulder of Brokenshire. Now it is. Lamb gets it. Then back for Maven. Maven gets a good ball away for Cracker. 8-4 Canterbury over St George. Safely taken up to the line this time from the Bulldogs. Maguire's got it. Nissen off his wing looking for some work. 35 metres out from their own line, Canterbury. This match is just waiting there for somebody to really put their mark on it and say that they want the 2 points. Nissen. Head down to the halfway.
Well, the way it's going, Graham, that'll have to be a brilliant individual effort because that's just the way the match is unfolding. People doing things and doing them on their own.
Like people like McGrady with this kick down towards the corner, taken by Wade. Lamb's got it. Now, St George control it for the 6 tackles here when they're under pressure. This is where it's been becoming unstuck for both sides.
Yeah, St George forwards have got to start working together. They've been going out one out most of the night tonight against Canterbury Bankstown. It's not working for them. They've got to get their props wide of the ruck like Osborne is now. He'll turn and there should be support.
Good run from Osborne to get them away and out to the 32. Collins. Some of the play of the balls have been very slow. Collins is going to return the kick from McGrady now. Tit for tat over the head of Crecker to the in goal.
That's not a bad tackling because Crecker isn't exactly a speed merchant. You know, he's not quick and you know, he's easily rounded up there. So that's not from St George that Brian Smith probably has decided they're going to kick deep to Crecker and they can pin him down. It's a different matter when you're kicking to the selected fullback McGrady. He'll run it back at you and probably run it back, you know, 50, 60 metres at you.
A couple of breaks from McGrady. One of them led to a try for Canterbury. That's about the difference between the two sides. Nissen. Back it goes to McGrady for the kick once more. Racing across is Cameron Wade, takes it nicely. Lamb was there sweating on him again, but Lamb forces him over to Brokenshire. St George now allowing Canterbury, allowed them to make that advantage line pretty easily. Taken again now by Fullerton Smith. Collins switching it. Ellison. Short ball for Goulet. Goulet standing, trying to get it back. David New, who came on for Alshan. Osborne staying wide. Flicking it back, but a bad one for New. Potter covering up, but Lamb is there. One more tackle for St George. One more tackle to get away from their own half. Driving it low and driving it well in behind Glenn Nissen. So some good kicking from St George. Nice angle for the sideline by Wade.
Yeah, it certainly was. The last couple of minutes, St George forwards, obviously, they realised that they've got to get their act together, and no one would be more aware of that than themselves. And they just have lifted their game a little to maybe try and grab a little bit of the ascendancy from Canterbury, even though they trail 8-4.
Pete, the way some of them are playing, they're not just playing for the 2 points, they're playing for positions here.
They certainly are. I don't think McGrady should be harnessed by being so close to the rucks. I think he's a much more potent attacking force if he's fullback, and even if Canterbury have to switch them around, I would have him at the back.
Maguire. Folks trying to bleed it for a penalty, and he's going to get away with it.
There's experience of a couple of hundred games, just making the referee aware that Ellison, who's also had a lot of experience, was there. He just let the ball hit him. He could have picked it up before it hit him, and he just let it strike the player on the ground, Mark Ellison, and Ellison knew what the pinch was for. He was conned by a guy that's been around a long time.
A lot of years went into that.
Well, not too many years of experience have gone into this. Crecker doesn't find touch, and Williams knocked that back, surely.
It went back to the train line. No doubt about it.
Williams throws it away. One mistake from Crecker. Now Weeks has compounded it here by calling a knock on from Williams. Judge for yourself. Well, the ball goes well and truly back.
Incredible. I mean, it went 2 yards back.
McCracken straightening up for Canterbury. Folks now. McGrady had gone to the blind side. Maguire now to midfield. He loses it. Play on. Lamb with an overlap here. Well, I thought it was going to be an overlap, but Padmore decided to go inside instead of stay on his left.
McGrady hasn't had a run for a while. Look out.
Canterbury get a penalty. Well, if you're going to give a penalty away here, surely somebody's got to go to the bin if it's going to stop the flow of play. If you're going to call this a professional foul, how can anybody be allowed to stay on the field?
Well, he's got Mark Ellison for lying on top of the tackle player, and he had to be dragged off by a teammate.
He nearly went to sleep.
He certainly did.
Well, he's got Cameron Wade in the first half for lashing out in the play of the ball. He got 10 minutes. Now Ellison slows down play when they're in trouble, and he stays out there. You tell me the consistency, Pete, of referee.
There's no consistency there. I think the referee showed a lack of experience in blowing the whistle. He should have played the advantage. He could have always come back to the penalty had Canterbury not scored the try.
Crecker with this shot from about 15 metres out.
And it's a gift too for him. And in a game that try scoring has been down to 1 try, 1 break from McGrady, it's certainly going to be a bonus too for Canterbury.
That's the short angle from right next to the post.
Terry Lamb's on 994 points with the Bulldogs, Graham. I bet he'd like to be having this one, but of course he's not 100% fit and can't.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that he is happy to have the goal-kicking duties off his mind. Now it's left for Crecker. He increases the Bulldog lead by 2 more. Down a blind side for Simon Gillies.
And Graham, no real intensity in this match so far. I mean, the forwards, as has been mentioned earlier, are playing very much one out. The backs haven't seen much of the ball so far in this match at all on either side.
And it's really hard to believe was such a vital one, Wayne.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, here's a chance for Canterbury out wide. Can they get it back infield? Gillies will get a hand to it. St George in a bit of trouble here, but it is the last tackle for them. Lamb kicking straight across the paddock for Williams. Williams puts it down. Maven's there. Well, he's ruled them offside. I thought everybody was well and truly onside.
Well,
everybody was well and truly onside.
The try's been taken from Canterbury Bankstown, and the kick through by Terry Lamb. Lamb, always, or more times than not, this is going to show it. Terry Lamb kicks the ball. Now the player closest to him was offside, but the player that ended up picking up the ball was definitely onside, Steve Maven. That player onside, so too was Smith. The player closest to Terry Lamb was offside, but I'm not sure whether the referee pinged him, Bill Anderson.
Well, once the mistake had been made, it was play on anyhow because they were outside of the 10 when the ball was touched. So I've got no doubt that was a try.
St George get out of it, and still well and truly in this game. Nissan Friday nighter from the Belmore Sports Ground. That was the intensity you were looking for, Wayne. As I said, only 2 points out of the 5 these sides.
Yeah, it's surprising that they're not backing one another up as much as it should be expected in a game of this standard. And St George in particular are very, very lethargic around the rucks. They play the balls, they're not as quick as Canterbury, and they're just struggling to get that momentum going.
Now the Saints. The opportunity to live out of that one.
You can't overestimate the value of Terry Lamb to this Canterbury side. If something needs to be done, he does it. A tackle needs to be made or a kick needs to be put in with someone to back up. He just does the lot for them. Whatever he's being paid, he's worth double.
And St George tried to buy Gary Freeman in the off-season. They wanted an organiser. They missed him. They got Alchin. Alchin's now out of business, and they're in a hole.
Maybe it's incidents like this, though. That kick, Canterbury believing they had a try taken off them. St George a chance to get back into it. Maybe both sides will lift now. A feeling of frustration and urgency from both sides.
Well, I think it's lifted already in the second half. I think the urgency is there that was lacking in the first half. And I think this game will finish very strongly.
Brokenshire. For Lamb. Drives it low away from Wade. But it will break back towards the St George fullback. Lamb follows his own kick. Now Nissan chasing Wade across. Beautiful tackle to get him 11 metres out from his own line.
But that was Terry Lamb again. He kicked the ball, went down on chase, and then dragged the other players down with him.
Williams. It's Lamb who forces him back. 93 tackles overall possession for Canterbury. Only 6 between them. Fullerton Smith. Great tackle.
Magnificent tackle, that one.
Brokenshire really let him know that he was around.
And again from Brokenshire.
Wayne Collins in a heap of trouble. Collins suffering with some concussion out on the sideline. In fact, he's been cut open, so he'll head for some stitches down the tunnel.
Yeah, he's gone to the blood bin, no doubt about that. And of course, that is not included in the replacements for St George.
Maven. So the key men have been missing at vital times for the Saints. 10-4 Canterbury. They lost Alchin in the first half. Now they lose their man at dummy half, Collins. Dean Pay plays it back. Boaks up the middle. 32 metres out, Canterbury. They've been lifting their game the last couple of minutes and threatening. That ball was a pressure pass from McGrady. As Gillies was trying to run to the gap, the defence was right on him.
That's the only thing about McGrady that worries me a bit, that he pings the passes. Now, here he is on the run around. Now, there's the pass to a player with the defence right on top of him. He's got to learn that he's going to have to be tackled with a football at various stages in a game. You just can't unload and send players into areas where the defence is the strongest.
St George surviving a couple of opportunities from Canterbury. Calls are out for some runners. Brittle is there. And the Canterbury defence is there in good numbers too. Fullerton Smith. He had to stop because the ball was thrown behind him. Elliott.
Good player, Elliott. I'm surprised he hasn't been injected into the game earlier. He is good with the ball. He's a good, strong runner, and he backs up very well. I think he'll add a lot to this pretty lethargic forward pack of St George.
Maven with an open side here. Takes on Williams, gets away. Maven down the sideline. Just grabbed. Now McCracken. McCracken taken by Cameron Wade. Only just touched the line. Touch judge was right on the spot. Canterbury nearly turned a bad kick into a real chance here.
Yeah, excellent run by Maven. He got rid of young Williams and then showed a very good fend there. Got the ball back inside to McCracken. Look at this young Kiwi. He's big and strong. His dad's played for New Zealand, and he looks like he's going to follow suit too. Good defence by St George.
They scrambled well, the Saints.
Young Williams having a tough night, isn't he, on the wing and placing Ricky Walford. He dropped the ball for that controversial no try a few moments ago and then shoved off by Maven, the former South Sydney player, who looks very fit and strong out in the wing for Canterbury this season.
Williams goes back to his wing spot. Osborne looks up, pleading with Weeks to say that somebody stole it.
It's enough to make you cry.
Well, he's going to be penalised now for having too much to say.
Well, I think that's harsh. You know, the player's frustrated. I think the referee, it is not a kindergarten out there. And, OK, he might have verbaled the referee. There's no doubt he did. But I reckon with good cause. He was just shoved around on the ground. He was entitled to complain. I think Osborne was hard done by.
I thought there was a chance of a Bruce Maguire boot on the other side of that ball. Cracker from right in front. There have been some tough calls for the referee in this match.
Well, I think that his inexperience has come through. I just can't condone that. I think that's a harsh penalty. That's like giving somebody a grandma life for pinching, you know, a half a pound of butter.
Brian Smith on the walkie-talkie, sending out messages to this St George side.
He thought Pommy referees were ordinary.
Is he talking to Chris Anderson?
I don't think so.
What have they got going? Making a date after the game, both coaches.
I think he said, do you want Alchin back?
Cracker. He says thank you with another gift from in front. Canterbury 12 now, St George 4. Reminder about Big League on sale at all newsagents and at all the grounds this weekend in round 8 of the Winfield Cup. And plenty of good stories in Big League this week. We start to warm up to State of Origin football. Tremendous first State of Origin will be. And a big pin-up right in the middle too for all Canterbury fans. The Bulldogs of 1991. Pay getting it back for Cracker. He would have to be happy with his effort. Cracker at fullback for Chris Anderson. He's been busy. And he's kicked the right goals for them too. Now, Potter sets sail. Potter with a brilliant step. Out of absolutely nothing. Potter gets St George and climbs off the floor. He lifts them up and says, let's get back into this game. The Bulldogs go to sleep and the Saints pick up the dregs.
And what a crazy game football is. There's the mistake by Nissen. Michael Potter back at Belmore, races away, steps inside. McGrady, who made a pathetic attempt to tackle. Terry Lamb dives too late. Then Cracker and another Canterbury player mix-up. That's a good try, Potter.
Michael Potter rolled back the years here. I haven't seen him do this since the mid-1980s. A bit of a question mark on McGrady's defence, but the Saints are on the way back.
Michael Potter, former New South Wales rep, normally accustomed to wearing the number 1 at number 6. He's been good for the Saints this year. Ellison with 2 from 2 and a vital one coming up for him.
An incredible game of football, or rugby league is an incredible game. They can level it up here. They've been out of this game almost from the outset, and they can get right back into it.
Ellison. The converted try that they were looking for. Can he do it? Just to nudge them so close after Canterbury, we're starting to feel pretty comfortable. Ellison misses. And the comfort zone remains just a touch for Canterbury now, but St George back in it at 12-8. It's 12-8 at the Belmore Sports Ground. The Bulldogs with a 4-point break over St George. Somebody finally had to pay for a handling error, didn't they, in this game?
Still an individual effort, and that's what it's been a night of. Players doing things, doing them on their own, and I'm confident that that's the way it's going to finish, that this match still very much in the balance, but some one player is going to turn it.
The Saints, is there a new lease of life now? Elliott, one player who put some life into St George a couple of weeks ago in the second half surge against Western Suburbs.
He certainly did, and he's a very capable player. I think he could have been there a lot earlier. Into dummy half, always looking to do something, and he can use the ball well.
Here come the Saints. Criddle up the middle for Turp. Turp's got support too. Fullerton Smith. St George starting to believe that they can drag this one right out. 32 out from Canterbury's line. They're in trouble now. Osborne being allowed to run.
Wicks could have given a penalty then, but he played a good advantage.
Last tackle against St George. Potter, the try scorer. Now chancing his arm with a bomb. To Maven, they get in the way. They've got it, St George. What a game rugby league is. This game has come to life. St George surging home, and they've done this a couple of times this year.
Yeah, here's the kick, and straight up in the air from Michael Potter. David New, the replacement, coming into the game here. That's a good bomb. Maven messed it up. The bounce, Luck's a fortune. David New puts it down in the corner for a try to St George on the Nissan replay.
The kick's only ever as good as the chase, and here the chase was spot on. See, New never took his eye off the ball and bounced back into his arms, and over he crosses in the corner.
I told you it was all square.
Plenty of confidence here from St George in the chase. You can talk about luck. I mean, it was a pretty ordinary attempted catch, but luck doesn't count if you're not there, and David New was certainly there. He was looking for the ball, and he went over to make the try, make it safe and sound.
David New with the try, the replacement for Jason Alshan, but Marty Kreger and Steve Maven got to reintroduce themselves to each other at training during the week.
Well,
someone had to call for it.
They almost ironed the other one out.
Ellison. 2 from 3. And all of a sudden, this could be a goal that can win the game. He is just the sort of player that can produce it.
What an incredible turnaround. In a couple of minutes, St George suddenly surged, and that period of play between the try of Potter and the try from New was all St George forwards.
There could be 2 Winfield Cup points hanging on this one. Ellison won't be able to drag it out yet. Nissan Friday Night Football, we're locked together at 12 all.
And another change, Graham, too. Troy Castle goes on to replace number 8, Mark Brokenshire.
Wayne Pearce, another good, strong performance tonight from Scott Goulet. 1 year in rugby league, and this is, you know, just into his 2nd year. He certainly is improving with every game.
He's close to the most improved player in the game. His play last year was dispositional, to say the least. He got lost, particularly in attack. Brian Smith's got him hovering out wide, and he's very, very dangerous whenever he touches the ball.
And he does his share in defence, 2nd top tackler in the first half, and certainly working hard in the 2nd.
Oh, he's very fit, particularly for a bloke so big. I mean, when you talk about a 6'6" guy doing the work that he does, he's got to be very fit.
St George all of a sudden full of running. Elliott.
The coaches will have those walkie-talkies working now, and the message will be field goal.
Well, the footy tab punters picked it again in the dividends when we showed at the start of the match, predicting a couple of field goal attempts from Canterbury. They'll be forced to it right now. Kreger, but they've got to get down the other end.
Yeah, this is the stage of the game. You tackle for turnovers.
And to that point, St George have used a very good kicking game in this 2nd half. They've varied their kickers. That kick was by Matthew Elliott. They've used Wayne Collins. They've used Mark Ellison. They've used Cameron Wade. They've used a variety of kickers so they don't get pinned down.
And they're very happy to kick the Kreger.
A lot of time left in this one still. 15 minutes. Castle. 12 all. The Dogs and the Saints. Pay. He was standing flat when he got it. Last tackle. They've waited right to the death to put the kick in. It'll be Lamb. Tries to bury it with the chip. St George getting back there. Williams can't cover it. Off the feet. Lamb's offside, but he's tackled without it. Terry Lamb knew he was offside and he couldn't even go for it. But the tackle was still made on him and the penalty had to come.
Well, here it is over the top. Terry Lamb on the right. He hesitates here, pulls himself away. His foot touches the ball, and then Terry Lamb does the deep sea dive. He gets the penalty.
But if he's offside and is within 10 metres of the ball, is it play on?
Well, the ball had come off the foot of
Terry Lamb.
And Lamb was offside.
McCracken. You take a penalty out of that. Which way do you want to go?
Which way do I want to go? I would have played it on, but
Canterbury have got it.
They've got a chance to pull it out of the fire now.
There's got to be a question mark over that. I think if Lamb was unable to go for the ball, then once it touches his foot, he is offside.
But if you're offside, you still can't be tackled. You can't be taken out of a play if you're just standing there and you're not going for the ball.
And all of that's a pineapple because we've got a kick for goal.
And the bottom line was Terry Lamb was there, as he always is. He's a player that's got amazing anticipation, probably the best anticipation in the game. That's why he's always there to score the try when it's got to be scored, and he's always there when a break's made.
Here's another look at it.
The kick through from Lamb.
Touched by McCracken. There it is. Lamb's offside.
And Cracker's going for goal. And a goal that might win it, but he hooks it badly.
Justice.
We stay at 12-all here, Canterbury and St George. He's giving his St George side plenty of time to recuperate here. Big set of 6 tackles coming up for them in defence. They needed a good dropout. They didn't get it. Darren Smith, possession in St George territory on the first. They needed that to go down to the other 22. Maven. Couple of chances for him, and he's been good on the wing for Canterbury.
He certainly has. It's up to the Canterbury forwards now to drive it towards the centre of the field and as close as they can to the posts.
Here's the freshman.
There's a steal. A steal. Canterbury losing possession. St George with the steal.
Bullitt and Smith. The Saints relying on Priddle to get him out of there. Good tackle from McCracken.
They've had a lot of success in the last 15 minutes just powering the ball up to Canterbury. I don't know why they've got to change it.
They are starting to set themselves and looking to go wide. Elliott for Osborne. Osborne with a difficult ball for Coyne. Now here's some trouble with the Canterbury feed.
St George are getting a lot more possession of the football wide of the rucks for Osborne, and when Osborne's wide, he can do things with it. That's a shocking pass, that one, and not a good example of what he can do with the football. But he's getting wider and therefore running at smaller guys and putting players through gaps.
Cracker on the blind side. Lamb might be trying to head his forwards towards the post here, hoping to get down near the 22. It's 12-all. Both sides looking for a field goal. Maguire, 33 metres away. Castle, up the middle. He won't improve from the play of the ball. He gets it back to Folks. Now Cracker. Cracker to Nissen. Nissen back on the inside for Patmore. Patmore outside McGrady. McGrady coming back away from the sideline. 5 metres out. He got it away. Canterbury only a metre from the line. Lamb staying at dummy half. Short blind side. Did Canterbury get it down? Yes, Weeks asked the question. They get a try. They stole it. There was no room there, but apparently they've stolen the try down the line.
And I've wanted to say this for a long time. On the Nissen replay, a try to Glenn Nissen. Terry Lamb thinking ahead of everyone else. He sensed there was a gap on the blind. Simple try, experience.
Yeah, knows his way around the football field, Terry Lamb, and just fired the ball out there to Dean Pay, a front rower to crash over in the corner.
Yeah, and it looks like Matthew Elliott making the tackle here. The ball, a great break here by McGrady. He goes up the sideline, almost scored himself. Great hands. He flicks it back inside here to, it looks like Marty Creaker there, who's brought down. Now Lamb looking left and right. Sights a little gap on the blind side. Offloads here to Glenn Nissen, who ploughs over in the corner.
The barest of margins for Nissen. Well, Dean Pay. Is it Dean Pay that got it down?
Pay. Well, I thought it was Nissen. Nissen was behind him, but there's the man, Dean Pay, that scored the try. Good thinking by Terry Lamb. He was in front of Nissen. It was there, and Bill Anderson called it right. It was Pay that scored the try. But the thinking of Terry Lamb, just a ruck ahead of everyone else.
A real front rower's try. He had to cover a metre.
Wouldn't Frank Hyde be upset? Out on the wing there.
Marty Creaker, right on the chalk. Magnificent goal. Now St George need another converted try. It's 18-12. Only 3.5 minutes. The Saints trying to find a draw here at Belmore. New loses it. His pass gave it away. Now he fumbled. Terry fumbles from the dummy half.
Oh, some amazing.
And this is the most dangerous position on the field to have a scrum too. I'd be a bit worried if I was the Canterbury side.
But most certainly they're giving them the opportunity, Wayne Pearce, to come right back.
No doubt. Some foolish handling mistakes in this last couple of minutes.
Everybody's trying to rush. Canterbury didn't need to. They go blind through Collins. The hooker gets out there to feed a scrum. And now it's Elliott from dummy half. The Saints. A draw didn't seem on the cards. It might still be, though. Potter, couple of metres away. St George throwing everything into it. 2.5 minutes remaining. Elliott firing it out. Tierney. Did he get it down? No. Held up over the line. St George calling for the in-goal judge to allow a try.
No way in the world he got that down. The referee had a good view of it.
Right down to the wire here. There's been a lot said about this game. Great ball out and great defence from Canterbury.
Yeah, Smith and also Gillies. Now, Gillies is underneath. Look at Smith go over the top. He's not falling in love. He's grabbing that football. Good decision by Weeks and a vital one.
And that's the rule I hate in rugby league. You get the ball over the opposition line and then you don't get anything for it.
Ball's kicked through. Dead in goal. Will come back to the 22 for Canterbury. They should be able to play out time here. The Saints nearly snatched it.
Well, they certainly did, and they've been given several opportunities inside the Canterbury quarter on 3 occasions in the last couple of minutes. Canterbury, if they're going to be a threat in this premiership, have got to learn to play safety first when you've got the game wrapped up. That used to be an art of Canterbury.
1.5 minutes remain. Canterbury were firm favourites going into the game. St George seemingly in a hopeless position when they lost Alshan. Trouble with Wayne Collins when he had to leave the field. So they've done it tough, St George.
They have done it tough, and it's been a much improved game in the second half. We predicted it had to come to life, and it did.
Can they get it out of here? Canterbury. Castle wraps it up. Last tackle. Lamb stays on a blind. McGrady is open. It'll be Lamb with the kick. Away from Cameron Wade, he sticks out a hand. Good front line from Canterbury. Gillies chasing Wade across. Throws an awful ball. He didn't even look back at Ron Williams. And Canterbury will have the feed, and with it they should wrap up the 2 Winfield Cup points.
Fullback's a very difficult position to play, but that's an elementary mistake by young Cameron Wade there. He did not look. He just kept going, threw the ball over his shoulder and hoped that young Williams would be there. And he wasn't.
McGrady with the feed. Time almost gone.
It's been the story of the last 3 weeks for St George. Been competitive, almost got there, and just missing out.
Couple of second half escapes for them. This time they're not going to escape. Maven struggling through some tackles to get about 13 metres out from the line and in front. Pay. Castle charging onto the ball. Over the top, the Canterbury forwards link to wrap up this Nissan Friday nighter. Maguire gets the smile on the dial, and he gets a try. They have done it tough, though, even Canterbury.
Yeah, they certainly have. On the Nissan replay, Canterbury Bankstown. Castle goes over the top with a pass to Bruce Maguire, and the former Australian forward powers his way over on the Nissan replay.
This is a good forward rush, good combination here, drawing the man and passing, and Bruce Maguire put himself on the end of it and crashed over for the try.
Some forward power from Canterbury right at the death. Plenty of experience in this man, Bruce Maguire.
Good work by Dean Pay, who was quickly into to the area close to the ruck. He got the ball to Castle. Castle over the top for the try scorer, and Canterbury in the end comfortably, but the scoreline doesn't tell the story of the struggle.
Well, they'd be happy, the Bulldogs and their coaching staff. Chris Anderson would be happy with the 2 points, but that's all.
Ian Schubert, of course, former Eastern Suburbs Kangaroo player, played with Manly, Western Suburbs, and now trying his hand at coaching, and he's got a wealth of knowledge in the game. A good understudy for Chris Anderson at Canterbury.
Krecker A dozen metres to the side of the post. All concentration. But it doesn't come together for him. There it is. No restart of play. Canterbury get away here with the 2 points at Belmore, but certainly didn't produce their best. St George tried to climb back a couple of times in the second half. It wasn't to be. They battled with some injuries, but both sides battled with their handling mistakes here at the Belmore Sports Ground. 22-12 to Canterbury. Patmore paid. Maguire the try scorers. 5 goals to Krecker. Potter and New for St George the try scorers. 2 goals to Ellison. 22-12 to the Bulldogs. We'll be back with our Nissan man of the match after this break.